The fall of the Guardian. The vast emptiness of space shuddered as Zephyrus, the last of the celestial titans, plummeted through the atmosphere of a desolate world. Once revered as the guardian of countless civilizations, Zephyrus now found himself betrayed, abandoned, and on the brink of extinction. The planet's harsh surface rushed up to meet him, a dull red expanse of rock and dust that seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions. With an earth-shattering impact, Zephyrus crashed into the barren landscape, his colossal form carving out a crater that spanned miles. Dust and debris billowed into the air, momentarily obscuring the fallen titan from view. As the clouds settled, the full extent of Zephyrus's dire situation became apparent. His once gleaming silver skin, capable of reflecting entire star systems, was now marred with deep gashes and burns. Ethereal energy leaked from his wounds, dissipating into the planet's thin atmosphere. Zephyrus's eyes, once blazing with the light of 1,000 suns, now flickered weakly, struggling to maintain their glow. As Zephyrus lay there, his mind drifted back to the events that had led to this moment. For eons, the celestial titans had stood as the protectors of the galaxy, maintaining balance and fostering the growth of younger civilizations. They were revered, respected, and at times, feared for their immense power and wisdom. But as the centuries passed, the very races they had nurtured grew ambitious and resentful of the Titans' influence. The Galactic Coalition, a union of the most advanced species in the known universe, had turned against their former guardians. They saw the Titans as relics of the past, obstacles to their own ascension to power. The betrayal had been swift and merciless. One by one, the celestial titans fell to the combined might of the coalition's advanced weaponry and cunning strategies. Zephyrus, the youngest and most adaptable of his kind, had managed to evade capture longer than the others. But even he could not withstand the relentless pursuit forever. Now, as he lay broken on this nameless world, Zephyrus realized the true depth of his solitude. The coalition ships that had hounded him across the stars had departed, confident in their victory. They had left him here to die, a forgotten legend on a forgotten planet. Zephyrus attempted to move, to rise and defy his fate, but his body refused to respond. The damage was too severe, his energy reserves too depleted. For the first time in his impossibly long existence, Zephyrus felt the cold touch of mortality. As his consciousness wavered, Zephyrus's thoughts turned to the younger races he had watched over for so long. Among them, one species stood out in his fading memory: humans. They were newcomers to the galactic stage, their civilization barely a blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Yet, they had always intrigued Zephyrus with their resilience, their creativity, and their unpredictable nature. Humans were different from the other species that made up the coalition. They were driven by a curiosity that seemed to know no bounds, often acting in ways that defied logic or self-interest. Zephyrus had observed them from afar, watching as they took their first tentative steps into the wider galaxy. With the last of his strength, Zephyrus activated his distress beacon. It was a futile gesture, he knew. No one who could help him would be listening. The coalition would have blocked all Titan frequencies, and even if they hadn't, no race would dare defy them to save a dying Titan. As the beacon pulsed weakly into space, Zephyrus allowed himself to drift into a state of semi-consciousness. It was a defense mechanism, a way to conserve what little energy he had left. In this twilight state, memories of ages past flowed through his mind. He remembered the birth of stars, the formation of planets, the first sparks of life emerging on countless worlds. He saw again the rise and fall of civilizations, the triumphs and tragedies that had shaped the galaxy. And through it all, he remembered the unwavering purpose that had guided him and his fellow Titans: to protect, to nurture, to maintain the delicate balance of existence. Time passed, though Zephyrus had no way of measuring it. It could have been hours or days since his crash landing. The planet's harsh conditions battered his prone form, dust storms scouring his wounded body, extreme temperature fluctuations testing the limits of his endurance. In his semi-conscious state, Zephyrus became aware of a change in his surroundings, a faint vibration in the ground, growing stronger, a shadow passing over him, blocking out the glare of the system's distant sun. For a moment, hope flared within him. Had the coalition returned? Had they decided to grant him a swift end rather than this slow, agonizing death? But as his senses slowly focused, Zephyrus realized that the presence he felt was unlike anything he had encountered before. It wasn't the overwhelming force of a coalition battleship or the familiar energy signature of another Titan. This was something smaller, yet somehow more vibrant, more alive. With great effort, Zephyrus forced his eyes open. The sight that greeted him was so unexpected that for a moment, he thought his mind must be playing tricks on him. Hovering above him was a ship, tiny by his standards but impressive for its makers. Its design was unfamiliar, a patchwork of technologies that spoke of ingenuity and adaptation rather than the sleek uniformity of coalition craft. As Zephyrus watched, the ship descended, landing at the edge of the crater his fall had created. A hatch opened, and figures emerged, small, bipedal, clad in protective suits. Zephyrus felt a jolt of recognition. Humans. But how? Why? The humans approached cautiously, their movements betraying a mix of awe and determination. Zephyrus could sense their emotions. Fear, yes, but also curiosity, compassion, and a fierce resolve that burned brightly in their minds. One of the humans, clearly the leader, stepped forward. Though he couldn't move, Zephyrus managed to focus his gaze on this tiny being. The human's face was visible through the helmet of their suit, and Zephyrus saw an expression he had not expected. Not the cold calculation of the coalition leaders, not the blind reverence of less advanced races, but a look of genuine concern. The human spoke, their words translated by the suit's systems into a frequency Zephyrus could understand. "I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth ship Horizon. We intercepted your distress signal. We've come to help." If Zephyrus had the strength, he would have laughed at the absurdity of it all. Here he was, one of the mightiest beings in the galaxy, laid low and abandoned by the very civilizations he had helped to raise. And now, aid came in the form of humans, a species so young they had barely left their home planet. Yet, as he looked at these humans, Zephyrus felt something he had not experienced in a long time: hope. There was something in their eyes, in the set of their shoulders, that spoke of a determination that defied reason. They knew, they must know, the risks they were taking by coming here. The coalition would not look kindly on any interference with their plans. With immense effort, Zephyrus reached out with his mind, touching the consciousness of the human captain. He felt her start at the contact, but then open herself to his thoughts. "Why?" Zephyrus asked, his mental voice weak but tinged with genuine curiosity. "Why would you risk everything for one you do not know, one who holds no power over you?" Captain Vasquez's response came swiftly, her thoughts clear and unwavering. "Because it's the right thing to do. Because no sentient being should be left to die alone. Because maybe, just maybe, if we extend a hand to you now, someone will be there to help us when we need it most." The simplicity and honesty of her answer stunned Zephyrus. In all his ends of existence, he had seen countless acts of altruism, but rarely on this scale, rarely with so much at stake. As the human team began to set up their equipment, preparing to assess his injuries and formulate a plan, Zephyrus found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about the younger races. Perhaps, he mused, the future of the galaxy lay not with the mighty coalition, nor with the ancient Titans, but with these unpredictable, indomitable humans. For the first time since his fall, Zephyrus allowed himself to imagine a future beyond this desolate planet. It would not be easy. The coalition would not simply stand by and allow a Titan to be rescued, especially not by a species they viewed as primitive and unimportant. The humans would be making powerful enemies, painting a target on their entire civilization. Yet, as he watched them work, their movements quick and efficient despite the obvious challenges posed by his massive size and alien physiology. Zephyrus felt a stirring of something long forgotten. The desire to fight, to survive, to see what new wonders the universe might hold. The celestial titan, guardian of galaxies, protector of worlds, had fallen. But perhaps, with the help of these remarkable humans, he might rise again. And in doing so, perhaps he could help shepherd a new age, one where the fate of the cosmos rested not on the shoulders of godlike beings or vast empires, but on the choices and actions of individuals brave enough to do what they believed was right. As the human team continued their work, the first faint tendrils of energy began to flow back into Zephyrus's broken body. The battle for survival had only just begun, but for the first time in a long while, the Titan allowed himself to feel the warm glow of optimism. Whatever came next, he would face it alongside these humans who had risked everything to save him. Together, they would challenge the stars themselves. Humanity's bold decision. The bridge of the Earth ship Horizon hummed with tension as Captain Elena Vasquez studied the holographic display before her. The pulsing red dot on the star chart represented a distress signal unlike anything they had encountered before. Its power and complexity spoke of technology far beyond human understanding. "What do you make of it, Dr. Chen?" Elena asked, turning to her chief science officer. Dr. Lian Chen, a brilliant astrophysicist with a penchant for the unconventional, leaned in closer to the display. "It's definitely not human in origin, Captain. The signal structure suggests it's been designed to be received across vast distances and by a wide variety of technologies. Whatever sent this, it wanted to make sure it was heard." Elena nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. The Horizon, ostensibly a deep space exploration vessel, had been pushing the boundaries of known space when they'd picked up the signal. They were far beyond the normal patrol routes of Earth's fledgling space fleet. Could it be a trap? Lieutenant Kamau, the security chief, voiced the concern that was on everyone's mind. The coalition hasn't exactly been welcoming to human expansion. Elena considered this. The Galactic Coalition, an alliance of advanced alien civilizations, had made it clear that humanity was to remain within its designated sector of space. Venturing this far out was already pushing their luck. Responding to an alien distress call, that could be seen as a provocative act. "It's possible," Elena admitted, "but if it is a genuine call for help, can we in good conscience ignore it?" The bridge fell silent as the weight of the decision settled over them. They all knew the risks involved. The Coalition's technology was centuries ahead of Earth's. If this was indeed a trap, the Horizon and its crew would have little chance of escape. Elena's gaze swept over her crew. They were the best Earth had to offer, brilliant, brave, and driven by an insatiable curiosity about the universe. It was that same curiosity, that fundamental human desire to explore and connect, that had brought them to this moment. "Dr. Chen, can you pinpoint the signal's origin?" Elena asked. Lian's fingers danced over the holographic controls. "Yes, Captain. It's coming from a planet in a nearby system. Sensors indicate it's a rocky world, barely habitable. No signs of advanced civilization or technology aside from the signal itself." Elena took a deep breath. She knew that her next words would set them on a path from which there might be no return. "Plot a course for the signal's origin, but keep us at the edge of the system. We'll do a thorough scan before committing to anything further." As the crew sprang into action, Elena felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. This was why they had joined the Earth Space Exploration Corps, to push boundaries, to discover the unknown. But never in their wildest dreams had they imagined stumbling upon something like this. The journey to the source of the distress signal took several days, even with the Horizon's advanced propulsion systems. Elena used this time to prepare her crew for every possible scenario. They ran drills, checked and rechecked their equipment, and engaged in lengthy discussions about the potential diplomatic implications of their actions. As they approached the outer edges of the target system, Elena called a meeting of her senior staff in the ship's conference room. The atmosphere was tense, but charged with an undercurrent of excitement. "All right, people," Elena began, looking at each of her officers in turn. "We're about to enter uncharted territory in more ways than one. I need options, and I need them now. Dr. Chen, what have our long-range scans revealed?" Lian pulled up a holographic image of the planet. "It's as inhospitable as we initially thought. Thin atmosphere, extreme temperature fluctuations, frequent dust storms. But there's something else." She zoomed in on a particular area of the planet's surface. "There's a massive anomaly here. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." The image showed what looked like an enormous impact crater, but at its center was something that defied easy explanation. It appeared to be a metallic structure of some kind, but its size was staggering, easily several kilometers in length. "Is that a ship?" Lieutenant Kamau asked, his voice filled with awe and disbelief. "If it is, it's like no ship we've ever encountered," Lion replied. "Its composition doesn't match any known materials in our database. And the energy readings, they're off the charts, but rapidly declining." Elena leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the image. "Could this be the source of our distress signal?" Lian nodded. "It's the most likely explanation. But Captain, if this is a ship or some kind of life form, it's dying. Those energy readings are falling fast." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't just dealing with a distress call anymore. They were potentially witnessing the last moments of an entity beyond their comprehension. "What are our options?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's chief medical officer, spoke up. "From a medical standpoint, we're completely in the dark. We have no idea about its biology, its needs. Attempting any kind of aid could do more harm than good. Not to mention the risk to our own crew." Kamau added, "We have no idea if it's hostile or if its current state is the result of some kind of attack. We could be walking into a war zone." Elena nodded, acknowledging their concerns. "And the coalition? Thoughts on how they might react to our intervention?" The ship's diplomatic officer, Zara Nazari, cleared her throat. "Officially, we're not supposed to be here at all. Interfering with an unknown entity of this magnitude, the coalition could view it as a major violation of our agreements. Best case scenario, Earth faces severe sanctions. Worst case." She left the thought unfinished, but everyone knew what she meant. The coalition had the power to end human space exploration with a single command. Elena stood, pacing the length of the conference room. The weight of command had never felt heavier. Every logical argument pointed towards turning back, reporting their findings to Earth Command, and letting the politicians deal with the consequences. But as she looked out the viewport at the star-strewn expanse of space, Elena felt something stir within her. It was the same feeling that had driven her to join the Space Corps, the same impulse that had led humans to explore every corner of their world and beyond. It was the unwavering belief that in the face of the unknown, humanity's role was not to shrink back, but to reach out. "We didn't come all this way to turn back at the first sign of danger," Elena said, her voice filled with quiet determination. "Yes, the risks are enormous. Yes, we're stepping into a situation we don't fully understand. But that entity out there, whatever it is, sent out a call for help. And it goes against everything we stand for to ignore it." She turned to face her crew, seeing the mix of fear and resolve in their eyes. "I won't order anyone to participate in this mission. If we do this, it has to be a unanimous decision. We go in together, or we don't go in at all." For a moment, the only sound in the room was the low hum of the ship's systems. Then, one by one, her officers nodded their agreement. "We're with you, Captain," Lion said, speaking for all of them. "Whatever happens, we face it as a team." Elena felt a surge of pride in her crew. This was humanity at its best. Brave, compassionate, willing to risk everything to help another, even an unknown alien entity. "All right then," Elena said, a hint of a smile on her face despite the gravity of the situation. Let's make history. Dr. Chen, begin detailed scans of the entity and its surroundings. We need to know exactly what we're dealing with. Lieutenant Kamau, I want a security plan that accounts for every possible scenario. Dr. Tanaka, prep med bay for potential xenobiological procedures. And Zara, start drafting a statement. If we're going to shake up the galaxy, we might as well have our stories straight. As her crew hurried to their tasks, Alina remained in the conference room for a moment, gazing out at the alien world that loomed before them. In a few hours, they would descend into its atmosphere, facing unknown dangers and potentially altering the course of human history. But as daunting as the task ahead was, Alina couldn't help but feel a sense of excitement. This was what space exploration was all about, not just charting stars and planets, but making contact, offering help, forging connections across the cosmic void. Whatever awaited them on the planet's surface, be it a dying alien, an ancient spacecraft, or something beyond their wildest imagination, Alina knew that this moment would be remembered for generations to come. It was humanity's first true step into the galactic community, not as timid newcomers, but as beings willing to extend a hand in friendship and aid, even in the face of great personal risk. As Alina left the conference room to oversee the final preparations, she felt a sense of calm settle over her. They were about to leap into the unknown, but they would do so together, driven by the noblest aspects of human nature: curiosity, compassion, and courage. The horizon began its descent towards the planet's surface, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of humanity. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Alina and her crew were ready to face them, guided by the belief that in the vast tapestry of the cosmos, every act of kindness, every offer of help, could change the universe for the better. As the ship entered the planet's atmosphere, Alina gave the order that would echo through history: "Let's go save a life." Race against time. The horizon pierced through the planet's turbulent atmosphere, buffeted by fierce winds and pelted with debris. Inside the ship, the crew worked with focused intensity, each member acutely aware of the stakes involved in their mission. Captain Alina Vasquez gripped the arms of her command chair, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. The barren landscape rushed beneath them, a sea of rust-colored rocks and swirling dust storms. In the distance, the massive form of the alien entity grew larger with each passing second. Structural integrity holding at 92%, Lieutenant Kamau reported from his station. "These winds are putting a strain on our shields, but we should be able to manage a landing." Alina nodded, her face a mask of concentration. "Dr. Chen, any changes in the entity's energy signature?" Lian's fingers danced over her console as she analyzed the incoming data. "It's still declining, Captain, but at a slower rate than before. It's almost as if..." She paused, her eyes widening. "It's almost as if it's aware of our approach and trying to conserve energy." A ripple of excitement passed through the bridge crew. The implication was clear. Whatever this entity was, it was alive and conscious. Life support systems are ready for multi-environmental scenarios, Dr. Tanaka reported from the medical station. "But I have to stress, Captain, we're operating almost entirely on theoretical xenobiology here. Our ability to provide meaningful aid is going to be severely limited." Alina understood the doctor's concerns, but they had come too far to turn back now. "Noted, Doctor. We'll do what we can with what we have. Sometimes, just being there can make all the difference." As they neared the massive impact crater, Alina made a decision. "We can't risk landing the horizon too close. The ground might be unstable, and we need to maintain our ability to make a quick exit if necessary. Kamau, prep the shuttle for launch. We'll make our approach in that." The next few minutes were a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for their groundbreaking encounter. Alina selected a small team to accompany her: Dr. Chen for her scientific expertise, Dr. Tanaka for medical support, and Lieutenant Kamau for security. The rest of the crew would remain aboard the horizon, ready to provide support or evacuation if needed. As they boarded the shuttle, Alina felt a mix of emotions, excitement, fear, and a profound sense of responsibility. They were about to make first contact with an entity unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, and the fate of not just this alien being, but potentially Earth's future in the galactic community, rested on their shoulders. The shuttle detached from the horizon with a soft thud, and Alina skillfully piloted it towards the crater. As they drew closer, the true scale of the entity became apparent. It was colossal, easily dwarfing their shuttle, and even the horizon itself. Its surface was a strange, metallic silver that seemed to shimmer and shift, despite the obvious damage it had sustained. "My God," Lion breathed, her face pressed against the viewport. It's beautiful." Alina had to agree. Despite its wounded state, there was something majestic about the entity. It radiated an aura of ancient wisdom and power that made her feel small and young in comparison. As they touched down at the edge of the crater, Alina took a deep breath. "All right, people, this is it. Remember your training, stay alert, and above all, let's show the universe the best of what humanity has to offer." They donned their environmental suits and exited the shuttle. The planet's harsh conditions hit them immediately. Howling winds that threatened to knock them off their feet, and a biting cold that seeped through even their insulated suits. But all of that faded into the background as they approached the fallen entity. Up close, its surface was a maze of intricate patterns and symbols, some pulsing weakly with an inner light. The damage it had sustained was even more apparent. Great gashes and burns marred its once pristine form, and a strange, ethereal energy seeped from its wounds. Race against time. The horizon pierced through the planet's turbulent atmosphere, buffeted by fierce winds and pelted with debris. Inside the ship, the crew worked with focused intensity, each member acutely aware of the stakes involved in their mission. Captain Alina Vasquez gripped the arms of her command chair, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. The barren landscape rushed beneath them, a sea of rust-colored rocks and swirling dust storms. In the distance, the massive form of the alien entity grew larger with each passing second. Structural integrity holding at 92%. Lieutenant Kamau reported from his station. "These winds are putting a strain on our shields, but we should be able to manage a landing." Alina nodded, her face a mask of concentration. "Dr. Chen, any changes in the entity's energy signature?" Lian's fingers danced over her console as she analyzed the incoming data. "It's still declining, Captain, but at a slower rate than before. It's almost as if..." She paused, her eyes widening. "It's almost as if it's aware of our approach and trying to conserve energy." A ripple of excitement passed through the bridge crew. The implication was clear. Whatever this entity was, it was alive and conscious. Life support systems are ready for multi-environmental scenarios, Dr. Tanaka reported from the medical station. "But I have to stress, Captain, we're operating almost entirely on theoretical xenobiology here. Our ability to provide meaningful aid is going to be severely limited." Alina understood the doctor's concerns, but they had come too far to turn back now. "Noted, Doctor. We'll do what we can with what we have." Sometimes, just being there can make all the difference. As they neared the massive impact crater, Alina made a decision. "We can't risk landing the horizon too close. The ground might be unstable, and we need to maintain our ability to make a quick exit if necessary. Kamau, prep the shuttle for launch. We'll make our approach in that." The next few minutes were a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for their groundbreaking encounter. Alina selected a small team to accompany her, Dr. Chen for her scientific expertise, Dr. Tanaka for medical support, and Lieutenant Kamau for security. The rest of the crew would remain aboard the horizon, ready to provide support or evacuation if needed. As they boarded the shuttle, Alina felt a mix of emotions: excitement, fear, and a profound sense of responsibility. They were about to make first contact with an entity unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, and the fate of not just this alien being, but potentially Earth's future in the Galactic community, rested on their shoulders. The shuttle detached from the horizon with a soft thud, and Elena skillfully piloted it towards the crater. As they drew closer, the true scale of the entity became apparent. It was colossal, easily dwarfing their shuttle and even the horizon itself. Its surface was a strange metallic silver that seemed to shimmer and shift, despite the obvious damage it had sustained. "My God," Lion breathed, her face pressed against the viewport. It's beautiful." Elena had to agree. Despite its wounded state, there was something majestic about the entity. It radiated an aura of ancient wisdom and power that made her feel small and young in comparison. As they touched down at the edge of the crater, Elena took a deep breath. "All right, people, this is it. Remember your training, stay alert, and above all, let's show the universe the best of what humanity has to offer." They donned their environmental suits and exited the shuttle. The planet's harsh conditions hit them immediately. Howling winds that threatened to knock them off their feet, and a biting cold that seeped through even their insulated suits. But all of that faded into the background as they approached the fallen entity. Up close, its surface was a maze of intricate patterns and symbols, some pulsing weakly with an inner light. The damage it had sustained was even more apparent. Great gashes and burns marred its once pristine form, and a strange, ethereal energy seeped from its wounds. As they drew nearer, Elena felt a presence brush against her mind. It was gentle but immense, like the touch of an ocean against a shore. She gasped, stumbling slightly, and saw from her companions' reactions that they had felt it too. "Hello," Elena said, her voice sounding small in the vastness of the crater. "We're here to help." The response came not in words, but in a series of impressions and emotions that flooded their minds. Surprise, relief, and a deep, aching gratitude washed over them. But underlying it all was a sense of urgency. Time was running out. Leon's voice crackled over the comm system, tinged with awe and excitement. "Captain, I'm picking up some kind of energy transfer. It's trying to communicate with us directly." Elena felt it. A stream of information pouring into her mind. Images, concepts, and emotions all blended together in a dizzying rush. She saw stars being born and galaxies colliding, civilizations rising and falling. And through it all, beings like this one standing watch, guiding and protecting. "It's a celestial titan," Elena breathed, the knowledge somehow clear in her mind. "An ancient guardian of the galaxy. And it's the last of its kind." The reality of their situation hit her with full force. They weren't just saving a single life. They were preserving an entire species, a living record of the universe's history. Dr. Tanaka was already at work, his medical scanners whirring as he assessed the Titan's injuries. "The damage is extensive," he reported, his voice grim. "Its energy is depleting rapidly, if we don't find a way to stabilize it soon." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They all understood the stakes. "What about the Horizon's power systems?" Kama suggested. "Could we rig up some kind of transfer?" Lion shook her head. "The energy types are incompatible. We'd need to convert it somehow, but we don't have the technology or the understanding to do that safely." As they debated potential solutions, Elena felt another touch on her mind. This time, it came with a clear intention. The Titan was trying to show them something. "Wait," she said, holding up a hand. I think it's trying to guide us." Following the Titan's mental nudges, Elena led the team around its massive form. They came to a section that seemed less damaged than the rest, where the strange symbols pulsed with a stronger light. "Here," Elena said, placing her hand on the surface. The moment she made contact, a surge of energy flowed through her, and a holographic display sprang to life before them. The display showed schematics and diagrams that were beyond their comprehension, but somehow Elena understood their purpose. "It's a repair protocol," she explained, the knowledge flowing from the Titan to her. "A way to jumpstart its self-healing process, but it needs an external power source to initiate. Leon was already scanning the display, her mind working furiously. These energy requirements, they're enormous. We'd need something with the power output of a small star to make this work. The team fell silent, the enormity of the task before them sinking in. They had the knowledge to save the Titan now, but lacked the resources to do so. It seemed cruel to have come so far only to fall short at the final hurdle. But then, Kama spoke up, his voice hesitant but determined. What about the Horizon's warp core? All eyes turned to him. The warp core was the heart of their ship, the technology that allowed them to traverse the vast distances of space. Without it, they'd be stranded in this remote system, years away from the nearest human outpost. If we eject the core and detonate it in a controlled manner, Kama continued, warming to his idea, it might just produce enough energy to kickstart the Titan's healing process. The implications were clear. If they did this, they'd be sacrificing their way home to save the Titan. They'd be cut off from Earth, from everything and everyone they knew, with no guarantee of rescue. Elena looked at her team, seeing the mix of fear and resolve in their eyes. She knew that the decision ultimately rested with her, but she also knew that she couldn't make it alone. This wasn't just her life she'd be risking, but the lives of her entire crew. We need to talk to the others, she said finally. Everyone needs to have a say in this. As they made their way back to the shuttle to communicate with the Horizon, Elena felt the Titan's presence in her mind again. This time, it conveyed a complex mix of emotions, hope, sadness, and a deep, profound respect for these tiny beings who were willing to risk everything to save it. The next hour was filled with intense debate as the entire crew of the Horizon grappled with the monumental decision before them. Opinions were divided, fears were voiced, and the full weight of their situation was felt by all. In the end, it came down to a vote. Elena watched with a mix of pride and trepidation as, one by one, her crew made their choice. It was close, but in the end, the decision was made. They would save the Titan, even at the cost of their own future. As preparations began for the risky procedure, Elena stood at the edge of the crater, gazing up at the wounded but still magnificent form of the celestial Titan. In her mind, she felt its gratitude, its admiration for their sacrifice, and its solemn promise that their act of kindness would not be forgotten. Whatever happened next, humanity had made its mark on the galaxy. They had chosen compassion over self-preservation, unity over isolation. As the first steps of their daring plan were set in motion, Elena felt a sense of peace settle over her. They were about to change the course of galactic history, and they would do it not through force or cunning, but through an act of profound altruism. The race against time had begun, and the fate of an ancient guardian, and perhaps the future of humanity itself, hung in the balance. Unlikely alliance. The surface of the desolate planet thrummed with tension as the crew of the Horizon prepared for their most daring endeavor yet. The warp core, the heart of their ship and their only means of returning home, was being carefully extracted and prepared for its final crucial role. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the makeshift control center they had established near the fallen Titan, her eyes darting between holographic displays and the looming form of the ancient being. The connection between her mind and the Titans had grown stronger over the past few hours, allowing for a deeper exchange of information and emotions. Status report, Elena called out, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Dr. Chen's voice crackled over the comm system. Warp core extraction at 80%, Captain. We're reinforcing the containment field now. If our calculations are correct, we should be able to channel most of the energy release directly into the Titan's restoration matrix. Good work, Lion, Elena replied. Keep me posted on any fluctuations. As the preparations continued, Elena felt a gentle probe in her mind. The Titan was reaching out again, its vast consciousness brushing against hers like waves on a shore. I know, Elena said softly, placing her hand on the Titan's metallic surface. We're doing everything we can. Through their mental link, Elena sensed the Titan's mixture of hope, gratitude, and concern. It was an odd feeling, experiencing the emotions of a being so ancient and powerful. Despite its weakened state, the Titan's mind was a vast ocean of knowledge and experience that threatened to overwhelm her human consciousness. Suddenly, a new set of images flooded Alina's mind. She saw stars and galaxies, but not as they were now. These were memories, stretching back millions of years. She saw the Titans in their prime, standing watch over the cosmos, guiding the development of countless civilizations. And then she saw the betrayal. The images came faster now, more intense. Alina gasped as she witnessed the fall of the Titans, brought down not by some external threat, but by the very races they had nurtured and protected. She felt the Titan's pain and confusion as its brethren fell one by one, hunted across the stars by a coalition of advanced civilizations. "Captain," Lieutenant Kamau's concerned voice broke through her trance. "Are you all right?" Alina blinked, coming back to herself. She realized she had fallen to her knees, one hand still pressed against the Titan's surface. "I'm fine," she said, standing up with Kamau's help. "But we need to hurry. There's more at stake here than we realized." As Kamau helped her to a nearby chair, Alina quickly relayed what she had seen. The crew listened in stunned silence as they learned the true history of the being they were trying to save. "So the coalition," Dr. Tanaka began, his voice trailing off as he grappled with the implications, "is not what we thought it was." Alina finished for him. "The advanced races we've been so eager to join. They built their power on the broken bodies of these guardians." A heavy silence fell over the group. The revelation cast their mission in an entirely new light. They weren't just saving an alien being anymore. They were potentially reigniting an ancient conflict. Should we stop?" Lion asked hesitantly. "If saving the Titan means going up against the entire coalition." Alina shook her head firmly. "No, what we're doing here is right. The coalition's betrayal doesn't change that. If anything, it makes our mission even more important." She stood up, addressing her crew with renewed determination. "We came out here to explore, to learn, to connect with whatever we might find. We didn't come to blindly follow the rules of advanced races, especially not if those rules involve abandoning those in need. We're human, and our strength has always been in our compassion, our willingness to stand up for what's right, even against impossible odds." Her words seemed to rejuvenate the team. Nods of agreement rippled through the group, and Alina felt a swell of pride in her crew. "All right, people, let's make this happen. Lion, what's our status on the warp core?" "Extraction complete, Captain," Lion reported. "We're moving it into position now." The next hour was a flurry of activity as final preparations were made. The warp core, a pulsing cylinder of barely contained energy, was carefully positioned at a focal point designated by the Titan. Lion and her team worked feverishly to modify the containment field, ensuring that the energy release would be channeled correctly. As the moment of truth approached, Alina felt the Titan's presence in her mind grow stronger. It was gathering its remaining strength, preparing for the surge of energy that would either restore it or destroy it completely. "Everyone, clear the area," Alina ordered as the final checks were completed. "Initiate the sequence on my mark." The crew retreated to a safe distance, their faces a mix of anticipation and fear. This was it, the moment that would determine not just the fate of the Titan, but potentially the future of humanity's role in the galaxy. Alina took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation control. In her mind, she felt a gentle reassurance from the Titan. Whatever happened, it was grateful for their effort, for their willingness to help when all others had turned away. "Mark." Alina pressed the control. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a blinding flash, the warp core detonated. A surge of pure energy erupted from the containment field, arcing towards the Titan in great crackling bolts. The ground shook violently, nearly knocking the crew off their feet. The sky above them seemed to ripple and distort as waves of energy pulsed outward. At the center of it all, the Titan's form was obscured by a blinding light, so intense that even their shielded visors couldn't fully protect them. For several agonizing minutes, the maelstrom continued. Alina clung to her console, her eyes squeezed shut against the glare, her mind reaching out desperately for any sign of the Titan's consciousness. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. As the light faded and the dust settled, Alina slowly opened her eyes. The scene before her took her breath away. The Titan was transforming. Its damaged surface was knitting itself back together, the strange symbols and patterns glowing with renewed vigor. Its form seemed to shimmer and shift, growing larger, more defined. The very air around it seemed to pulse with power. And in her mind, Alina felt it awaken. The consciousness that touched her now was far stronger, more focused than before. It radiated not just gratitude, but a fierce determination and something else, a warmth that felt almost protective. As the crew watched in awe, the Titan slowly rose from the crater, its massive form dwarfing everything around it. It turned its attention to the tiny humans who had risked everything to save it, and Alina felt a wave of emotion wash over her, respect, admiration, and a solemn promise. Suddenly, a new alarm blared from their equipment. Kamau rushed to check the readings, his face paling. "Captain, we've got multiple ships entering the system. It's the Coalition. They must have detected the energy surge." Alina's heart sank. In their focus on saving the Titan, they had forgotten about the wider consequences of their actions. Now they were stranded on a remote planet, their ship crippled, facing the wrath of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. But before despair could take hold, Alina felt a surge of reassurance from the Titan. Images flowed into her mind, of battles fought and won against impossible odds, of civilizations rising from the ashes of defeat, of the incredible potential that lay within humanity. The Titan's message was clear. This fight was not over. In fact, it was just beginning. As the Coalition ships drew nearer, their weapons charging, Alina stood tall. She looked up at the restored Titan, then back at her crew. Humans who had chosen to risk everything to do what was right. "Well," she said, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth despite the danger, "I'd say the odds are a bit more even now, wouldn't you?" The Titan's form began to glow, energy crackling around it as it prepared to face its ancient betrayers. And beside it stood the crew of the Horizon, small and unafraid, ready to fight for their new ally and for the principles they believed in. As the first Coalition ships entered the atmosphere, Alina felt a strange calm settle over her. Whatever happened next, they had already achieved something remarkable. They had saved a life, preserved an ancient legacy, and in doing so, had written a new chapter in the history of the cosmos. The battle for the future of the galaxy was about to begin, and humanity was right at the heart of it. Defiance of the stars. The sky above the desolate planet erupted into chaos as the Coalition fleet descended, their ships sleek and menacing against the backdrop of swirling dust storms. Captain Alina Vasquez stood her ground, her crew gathered around her, as they faced what seemed to be certain doom. But they were not alone. Beside them, the celestial Titan rose to its full height, its form now radiant with restored power. The very air crackled with energy as it prepared to confront its ancient betrayers. "Coalition ships are hailing us, Captain," Lieutenant Kamau reported, his voice tense but steady. Alina nodded, squaring her shoulders. "Put them through." A holographic image flickered to life before them, revealing the stern visage of a Coalition commander. His species was unfamiliar to Alina, with iridescent scales and multiple eyes that blinked in unsettling synchronization. "Humans," the commander's voice boomed, translated by their systems. "You have committed a grave offense against the natural order of the galaxy. Stand down immediately and prepare to face judgment for your actions." Alina felt a surge of defiance. The Titan's memories of betrayal were fresh in her mind, and she knew they stood on the right side of history. "We will not stand down," she replied, her voice carrying across the barren landscape. "We came here to help a being in need, and we do not regret our choice." The commander's eyes narrowed. You have no idea what you've done. That thing behind you is a relic of a bygone era, a threat to the stability we have worked so hard to achieve. It must be destroyed, along with any who would aid it. As he spoke, Alina felt the Titan's consciousness brush against her mind once more. But this time, it wasn't just sharing memories or emotions. It was offering something more. A partnership. In a flash of insight, Alina understood. The Titan needed a voice, a way to communicate directly with those it had once protected. And humanity, in all its brash, unpredictable glory, was perfectly positioned to be that voice. Alina smiled, a plan forming in her mind. Before you take any action, Commander, I believe there's someone you need to hear from. She turned to the Titan, nodding. The floor is yours, old friend. The Titan's form began to glow brighter, and suddenly, Alina felt her consciousness expanding. The Titan was using her as a conduit, its vast mind flowing through her to address the coalition directly. When Alina spoke again, her voice resonated with the ancient power of the celestial Titan. Children of the stars, she began, her words carrying the weight of eons. Long have we watched over you, guiding your growth, protecting you from the dangers that lurk in the cosmic dark. The coalition commander stumbled back, his eyes wide with shock and fear. Impossible, he whispered. But Alina, empowered by the Titan, continued. We gave you the stars, nurtured your potential, rejoiced in your achievements. And in return, you sought to destroy us, to erase our very existence from the memory of the cosmos. Images began to materialize in the air around them, holographic projections of the Titan's long history, their benevolent rule, and the brutal betrayal that had nearly wiped them out. But we do not come seeking vengeance, Alina/Titan declared. We come with an offer of reconciliation, a chance to rebuild what was lost. The coalition ships hovered uncertainly, their weapons still primed but not firing. On the holographic display, the commander's face was a mask of conflicting emotions, fear, doubt, and a glimmer of something that might have been hope. Why should we trust you? He demanded. Our ancestors deemed you a threat to our autonomy, our right to self-determination. Alina felt the Titan's sadness at these words, but also its unwavering resolve. Your ancestors acted out of fear and misunderstanding. We never sought to control, only to guide. Look into your histories, your most ancient records. You will find the truth there, hidden but not erased. As the Titan spoke through Alina, Lion was working furiously at her console. Captain, she whispered urgently, I'm detecting massive data transfers to the coalition ships. I think the Titan is showing them everything. Indeed, the coalition fleet seemed to be in disarray. Ships were breaking formation, commanders arguing over private channels. The holographic display flickered as more coalition leaders joined the transmission, their faces a mix of awe, confusion, and dawning realization. Alina felt the Titan begin to withdraw from her mind, its message delivered. As her consciousness settled back into its normal boundaries, she took a deep breath, preparing to speak for herself once more. You've seen the truth now, she addressed the coalition. The being you sought to destroy is not your enemy. It, along with its fallen brethren, were the guardians of our galaxy, the caretakers of countless civilizations, and humanity. She paused, looking back at her crew with pride. Humanity was willing to risk everything to save it. A new voice crackled over the communication channel. Another coalition leader, this one older, his features etched with the wisdom of years. Perhaps, he said slowly, we have been too hasty in our judgments, both of the celestial Titans and of humanity. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the coalition ranks. The original commander looked shaken, his earlier bravado replaced by uncertainty. What would you have us do? He asked, his question directed not just at Alina, but at the Titan looming behind her. Alina felt a gentle nudge in her mind. The Titan offering a suggestion. She smiled, understanding the wisdom of its plan. We propose an alliance, she said, not one of subjugation or control, but of mutual respect and cooperation. The Titan has millennia of knowledge to share, wisdom that could benefit all our civilizations and humanity. She gestured to her crew, standing tall despite their earlier fears. We offer our unique perspective, our adaptability, our willingness to bridge divides. The coalition leaders conferred among themselves, their discussion a flurry of alien languages and gestures. Alina and her crew waited, tense but hopeful. They had come so far, risked so much. Now, everything hung in the balance. Finally, the elder coalition leader spoke again. Your proposal is intriguing. It will take time to verify all we have learned today, to come to terms with this shift in our understanding of history. But he paused, his gaze shifting from Alina to the Titan and back. We are willing to begin discussions. A collective sigh of relief swept through the Horizon's crew. It wasn't a full victory, not yet, but it was a start, a foundation upon which a new galactic order could be built. As the coalition ships powered down their weapons and began landing procedures for diplomatic talks, Alina turned to her crew. Their faces shone with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had achieved the seemingly impossible, averting a war, saving an ancient being, and potentially reshaping the future of the galaxy. Well done, all of you, Alina said, her voice thick with emotion. I couldn't be prouder of what we've accomplished here today. As the dust settled and the first tentative steps towards a new alliance were taken, Alina felt the Titan's presence in her mind one last time. Its gratitude was overwhelming, but there was something else too, a sense of excitement, of potential. The Titan had been reawakened not just to its past role, but to new possibilities. With humanity as its partners, the celestial Titan saw a future brighter than any it had witnessed in its long existence. Together, they would explore the cosmos, bridge divides between civilizations, and face whatever challenges the universe had in store. As the coalition leaders approached for the first of many negotiations, Alina squared her shoulders, ready to represent not just humanity, but a new era of galactic cooperation. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with obstacles and setbacks. But as she looked at her crew, at the towering form of their new ally, and at the coalition members cautiously approaching, Alina knew one thing for certain. The stars themselves would bear witness to what they had begun here today. Humanity had taken its first true steps onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or supplicants, but as peacemakers and bridge builders. And in doing so, they had not only saved a celestial Titan, they had kindled a light of hope that would shine across the cosmos for eons to come. The adventure was just beginning, and the entire universe lay open before them, full of endless possibilities.